Good morning, everybody. A few weeks ago, you may recall, I made a couple of videos entitled, Trump Will Destroy the US Dollar. Everybody now, and particularly Trump himself, is reveling in the stock market's rally since he has been elected. But one thing we do not hear about has been the decline, and I should say the concomitant decline in the US dollar. The dollar's been going down since Trump has been elected, and it has recently accelerated to the downside. This morning, the dollar index broke down under 90, okay? Now, I called this, and of course, I got bearish on the dollar in December 2015 when the Fed reversed course and started to raise interest rates, and the vast majority, I would say everybody other than myself, believed that higher interest rates was bullish for the dollar. We heard all of these people saying the dollar is going to go up. It's going to be so strong. They're raising interest rates. Inflation is bullish. And I explained many times here why that is just a completely silly notion and a very uninformed analysis of the effect of interest rate adjustments, and for that matter, what inflation really entails for a currency. I've said it so many times that inflation literally means your money buys less. So there is absolutely no reason for that to be reflected as a higher exchange rate for the currency. It's a lower exchange rate. Anyway, once Donald Trump was elected and he put this his pet monkey, Steve Mnuchin, in there as Treasury Secretary, and they really started to ratchet up the aggressive use of sanctions. I called it dollar weaponization. I said it was a foregone conclusion that the dollar would not only fall precipitously, that we may have finally set in motion the end of the dollar as the main global reserve currency. I mean, my reasoning was that there's just too much risk for the rest of the world to hold dollars, that because one day the United States might decide as part of its foreign policy that it doesn't like some particular country's stance on something, and then uses sanctions or other means to ostracize it or lock it out of the dollar-based global transaction and clearing system. So countries, large entities, whatever, they were going to search for alternatives. They had to. I mean, they wanted to keep the dollar, but it was just too much risk. I called it the sword of Damocles hanging over the rest of the world's head. And that has been one of the reasons, in my opinion, behind the rise of these cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and all the other things. So the world is seeking now alternatives to the dollar because the United States has become very aggressive in its use of the dollar as a weapon, and you just can't have that. You got a global system of commerce which is based on the dollar, and the United States wants to shut everybody out of it who it doesn't agree with. You can't. So this morning, not surprisingly, or I shouldn't say this morning, started yesterday, not surprisingly, right after a new batch of tariffs, the Trump administration levied tariffs against imported solar panels, the dollar now in a tailspin on the downside. And this, by the way, folks, I've been saying this for a long time. I'm going to continue to say it. This is the very early stages. Most of you and many people out there, including all these so-called very smart economists and analysts, they are going to be shocked at the magnitude of the decline in the dollar. This is a long-term secular decline, in my opinion. It will not be reversed by any means of policy unless the United States backs off from its sort of belligerent stance on this use of sanctions and weaponization of the dollar. I mean, it pains me to see this. And I've always said, I was never one of those guys who said, oh, one day the dollar's going to lose its reserve status because we borrow too much money and we have too much debt. That was nonsense. That was nonsense. Okay? The trade deficits of the United States, the current account deficits, were as a result of other countries having to run surpluses with the United States in order to acquire dollars to buy oil and other important things like that. They had to. They had no other way to acquire dollars other than to sell us stuff. And they would do that by any means because they had to. So the trade deficits and all that stuff was not a reflection of our, out of control spending. It was a reflection of the rest of the world's need to run surpluses with us in order to acquire dollars. But that's changing. You see these new arrangements being made. Russia, China, trading oil in yuan. Venezuela, that sort of stuff, accepting yuan and ruble for oil. So there you have it. So it's the beginning. It's going to keep on going for a long, long time. And I think it'll definitely continue through the Trump presidency. If he's elected for a second term, it'll continue through that because he has imbeciles running his policy. And he could be characterized as that himself, unfortunately. And I know a lot of you are going to attack me for that because I supported him, but he turned into an imbecile. So the dollar is going down. I think last week I said I doubled my account in the last 3 months. I have to tell you now, my Forex account has almost tripled just in the last couple of days. And everybody who has been a subscriber has just been emailing me. They're killing it in gold. They're killing it in our short dollar position. And the next big move is going to be, well, you got to get my report for that. Go to pitbulleconomics.com. Sign up for a 30-day free trial of MMT Trader. I will send it out to you. And, of course, I send out many emails during the day. Everybody knows that. So, folks, it's all happening as per my forecasts. I'm very confident that we are looking at the beginnings of not just a major move, but a fundamental and profound and historic rearrangement, shift in the global financial system. Watch what happens. See you later. Bye-bye.